Let's take a close look at one of the most important parts of this firearm system, and that's going to be your magazines. The magazines are going to hold your ammunition. The magazines, of course, are going to provide the feeding of the ammunition into the firearm. Without a magazine, you've got a single-shot firearm that's very hard to load from shot to shot. Right now, my personal preference is the P-Mag. It's a plastic mag, but it's not like the early generation disposable plastic mags. This is a rugged magazine with a window that lets us see how much ammunition is in there, or that there's any ammunition in there at all if we're looking at it from afar. This magazine is really reliable in almost every firearm I've ever tried it in. I've had some situations with tolerance issues because of the friction of the plastic surface and some of the magazine wells, which is easily solved by just running a little sandpaper over the magazine. If you find that these magazines do not work well with your particular firearm, of course, you're not going to want to use them. You're going to want to find magazines that not only go in smoothly, but also drop free. When you go to reload, you're going to want that magazine to come out. If you find that you're not in that situation, that you're not able to get a magazine that easily goes into the gun, is reliable with the gun, and that easily comes out when it's time to reload, definitely rethink your magazine choice. A lot of different magazines out there, plastic, steel, aluminum. Choose carefully because it is one of the often overlooked modification areas on a firearm. Magazines that come with the firearm may be perfect. You may want to go aftermarket. When it comes to modifying an AR, there are almost limitless options, as I discussed at the beginning of this video. But there are going to be things that you really are going to want to do, things that make a lot of sense. And one of those things is this battery assist device lever, the B.A.D lever from Magpul. Now this particular lever is going to make running this firearm much more efficient, much more consistent with the way we run all firearms, which is to keep our primary control grip, keep our strong hand on that pistol, run the gun as much as we can with a strong hand. Same thing here with this particular firearm. We want to make sure we can run it as much as possible. Now traditionally, because of the placement of the bolt catch, bolt release paddle here, you have not been able to do that. There are certain situations where you're going to have to come back in and actually pull back on the charging handle with this hand, reach under and use that bolt catch here, or even be in a situation where you come over the top or come off the gun in some other way. You can think about trying to get your thumb up there, but it doesn't work for most people. The other option, of course, is to take this hand off and pull back on the charging handle, and take this hand, your support hand, and push in on the bolt catch. Now, I don't like either one of those options because at some point I am off of the controls of the firearm. Obviously, in the middle of all this, the firearm isn't useful, but if someone were to come up against me and try to take the firearm away, if I were to fall down while moving, if I were to get knocked down, it's much easier to let go of the firearm if you're holding it in a way that is not standard, not your primary contact with the firearm. So for all those reasons, and of course the efficiency of getting back into a shooting position, I'm going to want to keep my control hand on the firearm whenever possible. This particular lever, the B.A.D lever, will assist me in doing that when I need to activate the bolt catch to clear a malfunction or for some other emergency situation in the middle of a fight. This is a very easy modification. Of course, the lever comes with the tools you're going to need. There's a back plate that goes behind your bolt catch. There is the Allen wrench, and then of course the lever itself and the screw that's going to hold these two pieces together. The other tool that may or may not be here on purpose that I found useful is the actual card that this comes packaged with is going to allow you to slip the front of the lever over. You're going to put the back plate in there, and I actually use this card to hold it in place while I set the screw. And that'll allow me to get a little tension in there and put this together without having to worry about a vise or having somebody else come over and assist me with this process. There really isn't a lot of room for anybody to come over and assist anyway at that rate. Now normally I'd be doing this with my right hand, my strong hand, but I'm trying to make sure that my camera angle over here to the left can see exactly how this is all going together. I'm going to go ahead and finish up with my right hand, which of course would be the way that most right-handed people would do this and be much more efficient. Get that out of the way. Now we're in a situation where when I have that bolt forward and I need to lock the firearm open, I'm going to be able to take my support hand, reach back to the charging handle, pull that back, take my trigger finger and actually come down here and pull that B.A.D lever up. And now as I release the pressure on the charging handle, you can see that the bolt is locked to the rear. I never had to take my primary hand off of the controls. This is a huge leap in efficiency. This is one modification you're really going to want to consider for a defensive AR. The B.A.D lever that lets you keep your primary hand on the firearm a little bit longer in that emergency situation where you're going to want to lock the bolt carrier to the rear. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but that's an easy and inexpensive modification that'll make that worst case scenario much easier. Good reliable magazines and modifications to your firearm that allow you to use those magazines and interact with problems you might have in the worst case scenario in the field are great modifications for your defensive AR.